Welcome to LaTB, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Express delivery included.
LaTB, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the LaTB podcast.
Welcome back. Episode 232 here at LaTB. We're coming back off of a long weekend. We didn't have fights for the first time in a while. There was some Bellator, but ain't nobody really care about that.
Not here anyway. Not here.
At least not here. A lot of you hardcores that are listening to this, I'm sure, are watching some Bellator. So good on you. We ended up seeing some high-level KO, seeing some people making noise in there. How have you been since we last met? What did you hear about the Twitterverse before we get into this early morning breakdown coming out of China?
Did we talk about Conor's apology?
We did a bit a little while ago,
yeah,
I believe.
that's it. I see Conor's apology.
Did it sway you?
I don't really care.
Can you defend it?
I don't really care. Everybody's still talking about Conor.
Boom.
That's it.
I have
That's
nothing to say about it anymore.
I don't know what else is going on. In the world of UFC.
The Dana White Contender Series finally finished last night on Tuesday. We had the season finale. Dana White coming out and saying that there's actually not going to be another season, or at least on the books, it's not till next summer because they've kind of drained the pool as far as contenders. Everybody who's fighting in the next near future is essentially a Contender Series prospect that won. What'd you take away from any of those fights?
It was very unmemorable.
There was some highlights. I would agree. I don't remember
any of
I don't remember too many of them either.
That's why I say it's unmemorable. And I actually watched it last night.
So, as did I. But yeah, there was nothing that was like, whoa, this is going to be an amazing fighter in there. So prospects, as they should be. Interesting how that show's just kind of picked apart the entire pool, where now organizations don't get that hot cred like LFA, Access Fights, or Jungle Brazil used to have those, and now it's like, oh, now they're Dana White Contenders guys. That's what they're labeled as instead of the previous organization that actually got them there. Mm-hmm. So, interesting things to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Any other news? We did have a couple press conferences between... Who were them boys?
Oh, yeah, Darren Till and Gastelum scheduled.
Correct. Darren Till finally moving up to 185 pounds.
I saw the new thing. Are we pushing Darren Till? Like, come on, how many fights does...
I told you.
Yeah, we said this forever ago. Now everybody's like, oh, I think they just like him so much and they want him to win. That's it. That's the new are you being pushed, which I agree. They pushed him too fast, but now it's like they're both off a loss. They're both kind of in the same boat.
I don't agree because Kelvin has fought multiple times at 185 pounds, where Till's moving up to all of a sudden a potentially top 10 contender. I don't see that move. I don't see
Till winning that fight.
I honestly don't see Till winning that fight either, especially in the wrestling, and that's where it's really I see it getting to if Kelvin decides to not keep it boxing. Like, he just got outworked by a professional kickboxer, so hopefully Kelvin's like, oh wait, let me wrestle. Till won't have an answer for that.
Yeah. Well, no, I guess he's usually goes against guys that are going to stand up, and
he's had very specific matchups the whole way through. And not come out when they finally got
And I think
tough.
it's funny that all of a sudden Till's being pushed, but everybody thought he was going to beat Masvidal handedly. Everybody thought he was going to be, who did he fight before that? Woodley. Everybody was all talking shit and thought he was going to beat Woodley.
Not everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody. Yeah. You finding that beat. You making that money. Woo!
Yeah, so
Been
I
having
just
my
feel
mouth
like,
for too long.
Make up your mind.
Totally. Any other fun fights that have been signed? There's been some, I'm sure if we think about them, we'll bring it on about, but we do have 12 main card fights, or 12 bouts coming to us from China. This actually was on the rocks. People thought it was going to get pulled because of the social unrest that's going on in that part of the world right now. Do you think it's going to have any type of an impact on the UFC? Are they going to have security? What's going to go on?
My ignorance is how close Hong Kong is to Shenzhen.
I
That's my
totally
ignorance.
agree
So,
with that.
I could look it up, but there are 12 matches, just like you said, and I could let you start that while I look up how far away it is from Hong Kong.
This one's gonna be down and dirty. We got a bunch of dirty, double, disgusting debuts.
Yeah.
So the tape was thick, deep. I didn't even know if I was watching the right fighter half the time because it was just in a language that I flat out don't know. So all of a sudden I was like, that's not that same tattoo. His hair is different. What the hell am I doing? Half an hour into somebody's freaking tape
You've been
study.
watching him the whole time.
I'm like, oh, that was really, dang it. So this one is going to be headlined by the strawweights at 115 pounds. Again, check your local listings because it's going to start at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Midnight if you're going to be over there on the East Coast. But again, check wherever you need to. Here, we're finally going to be having to decide whether we're going to wake up early or not to watch this. You know, like most hardcores, my clock's already set. I'm going to be ready to get it down and dirty. And these first couple ones are really going to make you work.
Oh, they are kind of close, I guess. 27 kilometers.
That's not far at all.
No, that is kind of close. Huh. That is weird. I knew they were talking about it was hard travel, trying to find travel and stuff. So, I don't know. Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
I would agree. And hopefully nothing happens because as we were saying before on previous shows, the last place you want to act up is at an MMA show.
Yeah.
The last place you want to get crazy is at an MMA show. You're going to get worked up. Snatched up real quick. So we're going to start off this.
Yeah, don't mind the graphics this time because like you were saying, it was a bunch of double debuts. And also, I'm apologize ahead of time if anyone is wrong.
As far as the pictures or the names?
Yes.
Because this is going to test us to the absolute max when we have a dirty double debut starting off the night with Batgrel Dana versus Heli and Telgil. So the names are going to be making us work.
I know,
super hard.
and we're both going to try. I think that should be the rule. We both
And they
have
don't
to
even
try
have
the whole way.
nicknames. They don't even have nicknames. That's the hard part. So we're going to go with Halil is 12-7, coming off of a 2-fight winning streak. A 27-year-old Chinese fighter comes in with a somewhat serviceable game, beating 5-4 type fighters, 7 and his first opponent that was undefeated 7-0, he actually lost to, and that was on the Chinese regional scene. The tape I did watch on him, not even journeyman. I mean, he's just, I feel like a local guy who's there to get the early crowd pumped. They just needed someone. As far as this fighter fighting in any of the Western Hemisphere, he would be on a Bellator undercard, if that. So, very low-level fighter in here. And against Dana, I keep wanting to say Dana, and it looks like Dana. Dana, the bantamweight, is actually Mongolian, comes in at 30 years old with wrestling credentials, has a good overhand right, and actually tends to use a lot more wrestling coming out of the region he's from. I really liked his wrestling. I really liked that even when he got a little stung at times trying to strike with people, automatically he always falls back into that wrestling, where I did see issues with Heli in there defending some of the grappling that he had seen earlier.
And we are in Shenzhen, so are we going to have to worry about the commission? And
guaranteed.
Are they going to be on that Brazilian juice? Or even worse, maybe, that Chinese juice?
That's synthetic. That's that synthetic juice. Not even juice. That's like polystyrofoam and something like that, isn't it? They get crazy out there. They do stuff that we didn't even know. I saw a lady turn like 50 years old because she put oil in her face or something. What do they do into their muscles? So, I think the wrestler wins it here. I think it's a decision. I think he just keeps it on the ground and just ground and pounds. I'm not going to see an exposure to this anywhere. These guys are just too brand new. Not only do we usually stay away from the first fight of the night, this is a double debut. Gotta stay away from these dirty things. Who you going to pick and why?
Batgrel Dana versus Heli Alating. I have Dana KO round 2 only because he's gone against Kaikara France. That's the only reason. I'm like, oh, you went all the way with Kakara France? That's at least somebody I've heard of. So I totally agree. First fight of the night, double debut. Don't put it anywhere, but we both have Dana. But yeah, I think stay away. Stay away.
And that fight with France, look at France. His body's really changed since then. He was a really young man at that point in time. It was an actually pretty fun fight, but again, it's that wrestling. On DraftKings, the favorite in this bout is going to be Dana in here, 8,500 on DraftKings against a Tang's 7,700. Is this a clear fat stay away?
Yes.
You have a finish, though. And
Yeah.
a round 2 finish,
Yeah, but it's the first fight of the night, and that's never...
better to stay away.
Yeah.
Mazo, though, the week before off, remember, she was on that number 1 lineup. She was the first fight of the night, but...
I feel like this card, honestly, is going to be a big stay away for me. I'm going to go super, super light. Next week, or on the 7th, hey, and we have to tell you guys, we have a big fat hurricane coming toward us, so anything could happen. If you don't hear from us for whatever reason...
Look at that Patreon, because we're going to have to start some home renovations. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
just telling you.
Yeah, that... You'll know it. Dorian is coming toward us, so just pay attention if you don't hear from us. That don't send help or anything. Just know that we'll be here at least in time for Dustin Poirier Khabib breakdown.
Well, you can send those likes and subscribes for sure.
Yeah, that would be so
least.
nice. And the best thing you could do if you're like an old time fan and you've listened to us for a million minutes or more, maybe you could jump over on iTunes and rate us, because that really helps. That helps stuff out if you write a little something and stars. Sorry to put that in there before this fight. You're like, I don't even care about this fight much as you're rating your podcast. That's rude as hell. All right, go on.
Anything left with either of those jabronis?
No.
On to 135 pounds, we have another double debut in Cara Rosa coming in against Lara Procchio. Both Brazilians coming all the way over from South America to China. Doesn't really make much sense. I would think that they would do China versus the world, not the world versus the world, or Brazil versus Brazil. Do that in Uruguay a couple weeks ago. Don't fly them all the way out here. I just feel like the flight, that type of stuff, hurts both fighters for no apparent reason. If it's against a Chinese fighter, yeah, okay, makes sense. So, either way, both of these ladies having... low-level competition in there. They're beating women that have losing records. Some of them 1 or 2 at best records, but perfect for Lara. 6-0. She tends to be more of a submission ace. She'll throw that overhand right to go right for a double leg takedown, single leg, and she chain wrestles pretty well together once she's on the ground. She moves to side control well and even to full mount. But off of her back, she's got many an arm bar and can actually reverse. So she wants to get this fight completely to the ground because that's where she likes to generally do her work. And against Rosa, the Vale Tudo fighter, Piranha Vale Tudo fighter, is actually fighting with the champion Andrade. They're out of the same camp. So it makes sense that Andrade is like, hey, help out my homegirl, get her in the UFC. Good, here's a training partner. We'll send her. We'll just add a ticket to it. Maybe that one doesn't. Maybe that one isn't as bad. But as far as Rosa's skills, she's more of a Muay Thai striker. She can definitely be taken down. And when she's taken down, she doesn't really tend to get back up. Striking-wise, she'll throw a knee in there, throw 2 and 3 punch combinations, but they're very looping and not very hard. She doesn't really have tons of knockout power. Her gas tank is iffy at best. I don't like betting on these kind of fights. I got Procchio in a decision. I could see myself actually going more submission round number 2 the more I'm thinking about it. I'm not going to put heavy on this, especially because it's one of these double debuts. I'm going to stick with the slight favorite. Give me Lara. I'm not going to go heavy on this.
I got Laura as well, and I am probably going to stay away from it everywhere. If I'm desperado for price, maybe I'll go with one, but I really doubt it. I got Laura decision, but this is a weird fight for me, and it's probably in the right place on the card.
Laura, 8,400 on DraftKings against the underdog Rosa's 7,800. Do you think you're going to have any type of exposure to Laura at all? I actually think I might put her on 10% of my cards just because I see out of the two the finish coming for Laura. So, interesting bout. Again, I'm a hellion, I'm a heathen, I'm going to stay away, or I'm going to wake up in the morning. Some people are saying take off these first couple fights, wake up at 4 a.m. What are you going to do? Are you going to wait till 6? You going to wait till 8?
I'm going to wake up and I'm going to open a beer.
Woo!
And I'm going to watch fights at 3 a.m.
I absolutely love it because I'm going to do a coffee instead of that beer, but I'm going to get on it.
I'm going to do a beer and then I'll do a coffee for the main event. And then I'll probably sober up because I'm going to have to prepare for a hurricane.
True.
So it'll actually be good. I'm up and at 'em at 9 a.m. and ready to hit it hard. Bored up. As they say in Hurricane Valley, they say hunker down.
That's one of those American words.
The worst thing that they say is get her done.
Woo! Be careful.
I think you're allowed to say that in Florida. There's no such thing as the Me Too movement. The stand your ground, yes. Me Too, no. That's Florida.
Good
Welcome
to know.
Florida.
Good to know. Good to know if you're living in the South of the United States. Anything left with that last bout with those beautiful ladies?
No, we already stayed on it way too long, in my opinion.
Moving on to 155 pounds, we have a sneaky fight. This one, if you're going to wait to get into one, you should not miss.
I'm glad you said that because I actually think this could be on the main card of this.
This could be on the main card of a lot of fights. Fight cards. I really think this could be a fight of the night.
But...
So, we have Damir Ismagulov coming in against Thiago Moises. Moises, the 12-3 Brazilian fighter, is 24 years old, fought multiple times in the UFC, lost to Beneil Dariush via decision, last beating Kurt Holobaugh via decision, gotten a finish in his Contender Series bout. This is a wild striker in Moises, great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. On the ground, he really likes to get it done. And striking-wise, he really lets loose and puts a lot of power into his strikes because he is so confident on the ground. And we're really seeing it with these like Dan Ige and all these other type of guys. Is just the power that they're allowed to be thrown into.
Slides.
So I was like, that didn't look like Ismagulov to me. I was like, oh, that's weird.
Here's that one just to do those ladies. There's Rosa and Procopio. And then, all right, on to these dudes.
Moises Ismagulov. So, Moises on the ground. I think that it would be not the most beneficial thing for Damir to go to the ground. The M1 former champion is a 16-1, winning his 2 fights in the UFC against Alex Georges, who's now suspended for steroids, which I am willing to bout is not UFC caliber fighter. Georges is not a UFC style fighter. He came in short notice, and Damir could not finish him. Unbelievable. Then against Joe Alvarez, that was just a fight. That was a dog fight. And I think Alvarez is actually pretty low on the totem as far as UFC caliber and probably barely holding on. I think he might have won his last fight in a submission. But still, Alvarez, we don't see too much. Ismagulov was a big favorite in both of those. And the M1 striker likes to go to a takedown. He will land upwards of 8-9 takedowns within a fight and move to side control, but he doesn't really go for the finish. He always just goes for the position. He's more than happy of just staying on the side and landing those rabid shots. And on the ground against Moises, he doesn't want to do that because Moises will wrap up a triangle, get a sweep, all of a sudden get on top and really go to work. Ismagulov has a standard of wrestling that is basic, but I think on the ground, that Moises has a big advantage. Striking-wise, Ismagulov doesn't have tons of power, and that's where I think Moises is actually going to be a lesser striker, but he's so confident that he's going to eat that shot to land the bigger shot, and once it gets into a ground scramble, it's 8 times out of 10 coming up on Moises' side. So, give me the underdog of the night. You need one. You got one early. I'm picking Moises in this one. He's a big underdog, and I just really don't see it. Who do you have and why?
I got Ismagulov. I actually think he's a dark horse in the division. He's just grindability, he has great head movement, and he's one of those guys that just seems to point fight standing up and to take easy decisions that when you watch the fights in slow motion, no one ever lands anything on him. I think he can use his wrestling to kind of keep Moises off of him. And I do like Thiago Moises. I just think Ismagulov is one of those guys that he's almost boring to fight or watch fight. It's not very exciting. It's just kind of handed by the end, and you're like, oh, but he doesn't have the power to finish. I don't see a finish here. So Ismagulov decision. It's not bad on Thiago Moises to me. I still like him going forward. He's so young.
I actually am going to go Moises submission round number 2 as well. Here, the plus 145 underdog, Moises, is also going to be 7,200 on DraftKings against Ismagulov's 9,000 on DraftKings. He averages 73 points, does Demir. Do you think you're going to be playing him at 9,000?
Oof. Not really. But I don't know. If I can afford him, I kind of think I think this is a closer fight than
the odds indicate.
Yeah.
I totally agree, especially on DraftKings. I actually think this is way too lopsided as far as Ismagulov, and I'm going to really have zero stake in Ismagulov. I'm actually going to be on Moises. Not only am I downright out picking him, but at 7,200, if he wins a decision, even in a loss of a decision for 7-2, he's going to be able to still do fairly well in there for me.
I just see him gassing and Ismagulov turning it up a little bit and taking over as the rounds
I don't think you're wrong there. Again, I'm saying that Moises probably gets taken down, but off of his back, which isn't the best way to be betting. But as far as DraftKings is concerned, I think Ismagulov cruises to a decision, and we've seen it against lesser fighters where Moises has that more flash ability.
Moises is average?
It's going to be 49 points for Moises,
yeah.
So not good as well. He's coming in at 95 for his last win against Halaba, but he lost with 4 points to Dariush.
Wow, because he was just stifled with wrestling?
Completely. Well, jiu-jitsu as well. Dariush, again, world-class Brazilian jiu-jitsu ace, where Ismagulov's more of a wrestler. So, still, sneaky fight. Super sneaky fight. We're split up here for it.
Yeah, and I'm fading Beneil Dariush, so to lose to Beneil is kind of like,
oh. So, interesting. That one's going to be worth the wake-up.
But I like what you're saying. I think the cost is off. It's a dog or pass sitch in a way.
I totally agree with that. So, on to 205 pounds, we have Da Un Jun coming in against dirty double debuting Kadiz Ibrahimov. Woo, they're making us work out here in Shenzhen, China. They're getting it done. These both 205ers, never seen the bright lights of the UFC. Tons of young prospects. They're all going to have multiple fights, multiple career in here. Again, the debuting 8-0 perfect Russian fighters fighting out of St. Petersburg. 24 years old is Kadiz. Kadiz likes to get it on the ground. He will go for that outside knee pick and hold that knee and just throw that right. Or when guys throw a kick to either side of the body, Kadiz will catch that leg and just throw that right until he topples his opponent over. He's actually fought some fairly good competitors in there. Stefan Prudetz at 15-3 was the champion and a big favorite there, and he was one of the bigger underdogs of that. He actually caught him in a bulldog choke, but was throwing him around in there. There's a lot of throws for the young man as well. Just really like his pressure game. He's even gone into the second and third round a couple times. When he gets to the ground, he moves the side control well and always works up to get that, salivary position or crucifix where they'll be on top and land those elbows. Mm-hmm. And he will regularly hurt guys and have them react so badly that they give up their back. So, young prospect with a lot of hype.
It says 24,
doing well.
But he looks 44.
That motherfucker 48.
He's Russian 24.
Yeah, exactly. So this cosmonaut has definitely been around the block a few times in there. He's definitely doing well, though. I really like what I saw from him. I really like that his game plan hasn't ever been strike. It's always been strike to get it to the ground. And even when guys get up off of the ground, he has some fairly tricky ways and trips in there that aren't just throwing people over himself, like they actually have technique in them. So, fun prospect. Against the 11-2 debuting Jung. Jung comes in with a 11-2 record, last beating Mikolov, who has had 6-1, 4-0 fighters. He beat a guy named the Hulk, who was a 0-0 fighter. I mean, the South Korean fighter at 25 has got heart.
That's a made-up guy. He won
Yeah, somebody made him up on Sherdog, and they're like, yeah, he's got to win on
he had
that
to have
too.
a certain amount of
Fights before the UFC would pick him up. I mean, I did end up watching one of his fights, but this was one of those times where I was like, this is written in South Korean. I don't know if it's really Jung or not. It could just be some other guy named Jung that looks about this size. So, as far as what I saw, journey level type of striking, not really a big jumper kicker, more of a boxer, stays in front of his opponents, goes to the grappling, not that well, but does it more often than I would like. So if this guy goes to the ground at all against Cadiz here, he's going to get eaten up. He's got to keep it striking, but striking, I didn't ever see any. I mean, those finishes that he had on guys was usually because they would gas and he would just be able to put pressure. He's got a hard chin, and that's not good for the type of fighters he was fighting because they were landing hard shots and he was just eating them and getting up on the cage and being able to assert his will more than anything. I didn't like much from what I saw from Jong. He's going to be a scrapper in there. He's not going to give up, but I think you're going to have to put him out. But luckily, I think that can happen. Give me Cadiz, TKO round number 2. May even put it round number 1. This Russian likes to get to work. He likes to do it fast. Would you end up taking away from either one of these guys?
I got round number 2 as well for no big reason, but I'm probably not going to go as heavy on it as it sounds like you may.
I like him.
Just like they're a double debut and anything can happen. And guys this size, I just can picture laying against each other in a sweaty romantic dance that doesn't end up in any violence after the first 6 minutes. So I do agree with you, and I have the same round. Take that for what it is, people.
We usually tell you to put a bet on that one. That's what we usually say. So mine's going to be coming in as soon as those props are out. Cadiz, the decided favorite, is going to end up being 9,300 debuting on DraftKings against Jung's at 6,900. Wow. So one of the most favored guys
Apparently
for debut.
Everybody sees that. Everybody sees a big fat knockout, but maybe Jung has a elbow from hellbow that catches him. So I always think that a cheap... now my new thing since the last few fights, and we see these double debuts, 2 guys we don't know anything about, and one of them's a super hot prospect. Put a little money on the lowest guy on the deck. Like, take Jung and put him on one of your cards and afford everybody you want to, because that, you never know. We see that happen.
I think there might be other spots for that, and I don't think it necessarily has to be Jung, because the tape was still really low level for him, where there's actual, I think, other spots for underdogs that it is kind of those dogger passes. Another one, or one that might be it's going to be at 135 pounds. We have a bantamweight fight between Andre Selkhamthath versus debuting Su Manjiri. The Asian sensation is coming in with a 13-7 record. You know what we think about this young man. I mean, we love him. He's got all of the tools coming out of Black House, coming out of South Florida, training with some of the best, having great Muay Thai, great clinch, but still some of the lowest level IQ we have seen in the game. He would have beat Sean O'Malley if he stood up, but he just didn't do it. He said he was rocked and he couldn't think. Well, okay. What about with Alejandro Perez, where he knocked down Perez 3 times and lost a split decision? What about in other fights where it's just Selkhamthath just kind of tries to cruise thinking he's winning and gives up the fight? A little bit of a slow starter for me as well in that Muay Thai, but then that slow start never really gets out of second gear. Yes, he does have a second gear, but he doesn't have a third or fourth. So he just kind of idles there, and then by the third round, especially if it's a grappling heavy type of fight, it can really get bad on him. But Selkhamthath has shown an all right grappling game. He has gone in there and been able to use his wrestling to beat guys that are better strikers than him. And in this fight, he is going to need to do that, because Su Manjiri here is the Asian Stephen Thompson. He is a karate stylist, left hand, hops in and out. He'll do that step on the outside straight left that Thompson does. You see him, he did it to all of his big knockouts, where he'll just like dart in half to an angle and then throw a left. And Mijurin here has gotten a few finishes that way. But again, the competition level at 11-4, with his last 2 being losses, have been against not the best competition. Last one being Luis Smoka, armbar.
Yeah, and he's actually beat guys with worse records than I have.
0-1 type fighters. There's definitely some journeymen in there, but he's not a guy in there who looks like he's doesn't have any competition other than UFC. Like, he came in with a karate point fighting background that does have power, so it is there. Can't take shots as well as I would like, but we don't have to worry about that with Sohamthath. He's never really hurt people. Well, he's hurt people, but he's never really finished people. He, again, just goes for the cruising position most of the time. With this on the ground, Sohamthath has the decided way to finish. We haven't seen Sue on the ground as much in even that low-level competition. He was able to keep it up, so you got to think that the Asian sensation has an advantage there. But with his low fight IQ, he gets hurt with a couple of those lefts. I see Sohamthath just trying to point fight and potentially giving up this fight. And all I gotta be is like, of course, because that's the type of fighter he is. He's a win one, lose one type of guy. He's due for a win one in here, but I don't like the juice that I'm seeing on him. I don't like the odds. There's no way he should be even close to a 2-1. I think it's a minus 165, 170 or more for Sohamthath, but I think it's a closer fight than that. Ultimately, I can't pick the debuting fighter just because of the octagon jitters and the bit of the experience, the avenue that Andre has, but I might sprinkle Jurin on there and a couple Sue on there as far as my DraftKings, because he could stun him. And Sohamthath is the type of fighter that shits the bed. He's done it before, so I won't be surprised.
I really just don't think Sue is at all UFC caliber at all. He has done nothing to prove himself in there. And the guys, when you look back at who Sohamthath is losing to, they're the guys that everybody sees as up and coming next level dudes. So I know Sohamthath is not a submission guy. I just gotta think that the guys at what used to be Black Zillions or whatever have trained him better for this. If he uses his wrestling at all, even though he's not a submission dude, I think the submission's just there, almost too easily there. Something's up with Sue, and I just don't think he's there. He's a China fighter. They're putting him on a card, but they put him against the Asian sensation to build him a little bit of audience. Give me Andre, submission, round 2.
Nice. I'm going to end up going decision. I'm going to be tentative on this one. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,600 for the Asian sensation against Sue's $7,600. How much exposure do you think you're going to have on Sohamthath?
I really think I probably will have him on a few of my cards, only because he's one of the only guys I know on this fight card. And I want to stick with what I know. I'm not going to bet heavy this fight. I'm going to be saving it up for that UFC. Was it 241 with Khabib or 242? I don't remember.
242.
Yeah, that Khabib, Dustin Poirier fight night. And I think there's something after this too.
There's like 8-9 more after this. Yeah, we're not going to get any more breaks.
I think the next one, though, is at another weird time.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be starting at around 10 a.m. Main card's going to start at around 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that later on in the week for sure. We got to keep going through this Szechuan Palace of a fight card. Moving on, if you got nothing left with these two fighters.
Nothing.
On to 185 pounds, we have Anthony Hernandez coming in against debuting Jun Young Park. Jun's coming in with a 13-10 record, having a little bit of a winning streak in here, beating 3-0 fighters, 11-4 type fighters, 4-4, 2-1. Definitely some South Korean regional scene type guys. The 6', 28-year-old actually has some okay wrestling. Saw him get in there and have a couple switches. A lot of guys want to take him down because his striking tends to get it done a little bit more in there. It's a lot of 1 and 2 punch combinations, but he really likes to stay in your face, and he drags guys into third round fights and is able to actually keep a pretty steady output. And then once guys aren't able to take him down, he really just imposes his will. I was pleasantly surprised actually with Park as far as most of these tape study on these guys. I was like, oh wow, wherever he's coming out of, keep watching those guys. They definitely Korean top team. Wow, interesting. Korean top team all of a sudden has got some wrestling and other stuff going on in there. So.
I wonder if they have a mean overhand right and some badass wrestling.
Definitely some better wrestling than I would have ever thought in there watching the tape study on that.
Well,
young
yeah,
man.
all of them have good wrestling though at top team.
For sure. Anthony Hernandez coming in with a 6-1 record, winning his debut via TKO on the Contender Series, losing that bout.
Do you think Korean top team has anything to do with American top team?
Oh, yes. It's franchised.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And that's where freaking Dane Lambert will be like, I got a jet. Hey, Ben Saunders, all you guys, who wants to visit Korea for 3 months? Oh, by the way, and you're going to be training guys. And then eventually they just get Korean coaches that are good enough to... And then they go and do gyms and...
That's cool.
Yeah, it's legit. It's definitely a good way to do it out there. Hernandez, though, coming in with a 6-1 record, winning his Contender Series fight via TKO, but getting it overturned due to marijuana. Then coming out on his debut against Marcus Perez and losing via submission via Anaconda choke 6 months ago. Perez really ruckus in there, getting it done. Landing a left body kick that folded over Hernandez. I mean, Hernandez is really a guy who got a lot of his early fights out of there in the first round. If you look at his first early 6 wins, it was against, all right, Southern California competition, but...
Did he used to be fat?
He was definitely a big guy who
You can't tell
lost
in this
weight.
picture, but he has stretch marks like on this part all up in here. And I only know guys if they've been to prison or they were once fat. Those are the only two ways I see stretch marks.
He definitely is one of those that walked into an MMA gym and is like, I need to lose weight and I like to fight. So he's definitely kept it off in there. But as I was saying, that cardio doesn't show up. When he gets into the second and third round, I don't know if I've even seen him into the third round because... into that second round against Perez after a body shot, he was just absolutely gassed. He throws a lot of flying knees and spinning stuff and puts a lot of weight into his punches. And Park, one of the biggest things I saw on this young man as well was a chin. Those South Korean fighters known to have iron chins. I mean, how many times have we seen them with the lower weights where it's like they just keep on coming? And I think that this has a potential to be an upset of a fight. I think a lot of people are putting stock into Hernandez's American side wins and stuff, but I think the Asian fighter here can actually come in and not only is the young 25-year-old never fought out of California, now he's traveling to China and he's already known to not have the best gas tank. If this gets out of the first round, it only is in Park's favor. I have Hernandez decision right now, but the more I'm thinking, I think it might be a 29-28 type of a dirty split. I'm switching to Park, dirty-ass split decision.
Don't you think in China they'll hate Koreans?
I think they'll hate them both.
Racism.
Yes, they do. But they also will hate a brown guy from America. Americans, right? Because they just tank their economy.
What about Park fighting
Supposedly.
up to 185 from 170? Does that affect you at all? Just being a smaller dude, potentially?
No, at 6 foot, Park 185, I don't think. He didn't look horrible, and he's fought at 185 as well, or even like catch weight 180 over in Asia, because he's fought some bigger guys. He hasn't.
I didn't know what I was going to do with this fight, but I do like everything that you're saying. South Koreans never give up. They have a glass jaw or concrete chins. Like they literally have to shut off. Their body has to turn off for them to go down. And if a guy's getting gassed and maybe throwing too much spinning shit, not enough discipline right now, he's at a really big division. I don't like the fact that he's 185 versus a 170er, but the travel and everything that you're saying, he might be I think Anthony Hernandez is a potential 170er. Even the way he's built, he's a little flabby around the mid.
Interesting.
Unless I'm thinking of the wrong person. But right now, I got Park. I'm going to go Park decision. I don't know about this fight.
This is a really, really close one. We're both going decision Park, picking the underdog here. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the favorite in Hernandez $8,800 against Park $7,400. We're both picking the underdog there.
That submission, though, for Hernandez is the other way I see it going.
Well,
I think Park eking out the decision or Hernandez submission round 2.
Well, the interesting thing is Park has actually submitted a couple champions in other organizations that were wrestlers via Anaconda choke. The exact same thing that Ruckus Perez in there.
I like the underdog. Why not?
plus 135. We're both agreeing on the underdog there. Interesting. Draft.
I'm gonna look at weigh-ins though. If I like Hernandez's body because he is full-time fighting now, we do like when a guy's come off
Very
the
good
contender
point.
series and they get that real money so they can quit the day job. I want to see what his body looks like, and I will make my decision heavily then. So make sure you're following us at Zoltanite if you want to follow this guy over here, at Weaknick Baby if you want to follow me, or at LaTB_MMA, and check out our Instagram. And we have some of these fighters. We have made little things. You can print them out and put them on a t-shirt and dance around in your living room.
Whoop, whoop. Getting it done.
Yeah.
So, anything left with that interesting bout?
There's a couple of these, though, at least 3 fights that we could move ahead of some of these other ones we're about to talk
totally
about.
agree. What I was about to say with Park, though, at, what was it, like 7-6, I feel like I'm going to be playing him for that cheap if I'm going to want to be paying up for other guys.
My cards are going to be Grandpa's eyebrows, and you know what that means if you're a listener every week, all over the place.
All over the place. Moving on to 170 pounds, we have 2 former fighters. Some would call them, no, they can't be veterans via LaTB standards. They don't have 3 fights in there. At least Krantz doesn't. But we have Derek Krantz coming in against Keegan Song. Song going over to America for a little while, training with Alpha Male since the first time they went. He's at Tiger Muay Thai as well. The 14-5 fighter is coming off of a couple wins in the UFC, beating Bobby Nash, beating Hector Aldana, but last losing to Alex Morono in a decision. Keegan Song is definitely a 1-2 punch type of fighter. He throws them down the chamber. Well, we'll throw a leg kick in there every once in a while, but he just more stays in front of you and will move his head well, but kind of low output. He has power, but his wrestling can be exploited. He has good scramble ability, but he is able to even get taken down in there as well. And he can even be held down on the ground when he gets there. In some of the fights we saw, Morono was definitely able to do it once we saw him get it down to the ground. So definitely pads the victory against Song. He has to keep it striking if he wants to win this. And against Krantz, he is the better striker here, Keegan. But he's just very limited as far as the amount of volume and or even approach. All of the tape, he really just falls into like 2-punch combinations at most, and then he'll switch it between like A, B, C, and D, and that's about it. So his game plan doesn't really change and evolve all that much. I don't know if he's been back in the States or even training with Tiger Muay Thai. I know he does like to travel being a young man. Against Derek Krantz, the 24-11 fighter, has a lot of high-level competition. He does have a lot of losses in there, but he's been fighting for a long time. He came off of the Dana White looking for a fighter. Dana White went to look for another guy. Krantz beat the other guy that Dana White came to look for and said, hey, I know I'm old. It don't matter. Just give me a shot, because he worked over that young stud in there. And Krantz just showed that he's definitely serviceable everywhere. Tough as nails. Has a hard overhand right, but great wrestling and just tons and tons of pressure in there. Dana White said, all right, man, it's not going to be a fight you like, but I'll find you something short notice. He's like, okay. Well, he got the call against Vicente Luque short notice. And he's like, all right, boss, you're going to give me another fight, right? You're going to give me another fight. Yep. And I fucking love what Krantz did in that fight. He came out and threw the fucking kitchen sink at Luque. Absolutely gassed at the end of that first round, but hey, he knew that I'm going to lose anyways.
It was now or never.
Exactly. I'm going to lose anyways, so might as well get in here and at least get a shot. Hurting Luque a couple times in there, I think with a left and even a head kick. So definitely Krantz understands the game. It shows the level of IQ. He knows what to do in here, and he can see, if we can see it, the game plan here is go back to that American wrestling, get this Chinese fighter down, get that position over submission. Krantz even's got a formidable submission game, which I even could see coming out here. But I do think that Krantz actually level changes well and mixes up his strikes and takedowns well enough, as well as with that steady gas tank. I actually see another underdog coming through here. Give me Krantz. It's even money as far as the betting lines. He opened as like even money fight. A lot of people see this the epitome of a coin flip. It'll probably be minus 115 by the closing lines. I just see Keegan Song holds on to decisions. Actually, almost forgot to say, every single fight I've seen of Keegan Song, this is one of these fighters that is in the Yoel Romero, in the freaking who is that? Charles Oliveira. He took a chunk out of Hector Aldana's eye lid. If you remember that fight. In the fight after that, Alex Morono almost had surgery after that eye gouge. He grabbed the fence against Alex Morono, and then in his fight prior to as well, Bobby Nash kicked him in the nuts. 5-10 seconds into the fight, Bobby Nash was like, okay, they touched gloves, 1-2, fight was over. So Keegan Song is really had some sketchy ass wins, the ones he has had in here. So gimme the slight underdog. You needed another one. You're welcome.
I was with you until you said decision. And if you're even questioning me with the decision of the local Chinese fighter, who as far as I know, he's going to be bigger than Ricky Martin going out there. He's going to be bigger than Paulo Costa. They might be cheering his name. They might be wearing his face. He might be the Tom Brady of China. So when you say that, I'm going Song decision. If he can, the only question is, can Song stay alive for 3 rounds? Yes, he can. Song decision.
I like what you're saying, because I'm almost talking myself out of it, because I almost want to be able to put money down if there's going to be an eye gouge in this fight. And I'm going to put money down that there is, and it's going to be Keegan Song in there throwing all those fingers in the eyes.
He gets trained by DC to do all that shit.
Oh, John Jones.
Yeah, why not? He's playing for keeps.
Playing for keeps. Keegan Song, 8,200 on DraftKings. The coin flip of a fight, 8,000
I
for
think
Krantz.
this is going to be the fight of the night. This is my fight of the night.
This is a really, really close fight.
I think it's going to be a standing banger. I don't think Derek Krantz is going to try to take him down. I think these guys are going to stand and throw, and this is going to be one for the ages.
Ooh,
they're both going to make a name for themselves, I think, off this fight.
I do think that it has definitely sneaky dark horse of a matchup in the entire card. Reason to, again, wake up in the morning for these. At 125 pounds, we're going to head into the main card.
I'm switching to Hernandez.
You're switching over back to the air. Oh, interesting, because he's not Chinese. He's South Korean.
Yeah, and everybody that I talk to from all my friends of all different races, they say, you don't know racism like Asian racism.
I've seen it myself. I lived in Japan. I've seen it myself.
They're
so
like,
it's
you American black and white, whatever you got going on, that ain't nothing.
Truth.
Compared to the hierarchy in Asia when they start breaking it down.
Truth. On to the main card. We're going to come in with all sorts of social distortion. At 125 pounds, we have Yan Wu coming in against debuting
Her
Mizuki
name is
Inoue.
hashtag so simple. Like, it's like
Yana Wu?
Mulan.
Oh, that's her nickname?
Yes.
From what I understand, in the Disney aspect, which they stole the Lion King, look that up.
Every single one of those.
Every one of those.
And it's all kind of the same
The Mulan story
every...
they sold of empowerment for ladies, which I love my ladies. You know me. But Chinese culture actually knows the story, and she got out of the military and actually married a husband and devoted her life to her husband because she's like, yeah, I just helped when I needed.
Your nickname, her nickname being Milan to me is like if my nickname was like Samantha.
Or Sophie nowadays.
Yeah,
everything is Sophie.
Like Mulan.
Thanks, Karen.
I know, yeah, like, thanks, Linda. Can you put your shopping cart away, Linda? My nickname would be, can I speak to your manager, please? Karen. Karen, can I speak to your manager, please? Smith.
So, the main card opens up at 125 against Mizuki Inoue, being a long-touted prospect coming out of the Invicta series. The Japanese judoka is coming in with a 13-5 record. She's coming in off a win against Viana Pereira, the former UFC fighter, last losing to Viana Janjiroba. You remember that fun chant we had here in Florida?
No.
Oh, Janjiroba was getting screamed right behind us, but
because of the Brazilians.
Exactly, but anyway, in there I remember breaking down Janjiroba and being like, well, apparently she was an underdog there, and anyway, has tons of volume, little undersized at 25 years old, being 5'4". She's used to fight at atomweight. She's just not thick as far as bone density. She just looks very thin in there.
She needs to drink more milk.
Definitely.
That 1980s milk. Not
Definitely
that old
in there.
hormone-ridden, pus-filled milk of today.
But with that, people saying that she's gonna get oversized. She's been fighting heavier fighters because she was at atomweight fighting 115, and now she's 115 moving up to 125. So that's gonna be interesting for her here. She's always been fighting heavier fighters, so I'm not too incredibly worried about the size. The long type, I've seen her in multiple 3-5 round fights. She's got a hell of a gas tank in here. She's able to throw crazy amounts of output. Striking wise, she does anyway like to lead a little bit with her head. She'll eat a couple shots just to land a few, but when she gets in the clinch, she actually does use her judo and will end up on top, more on side control. She has a couple submissions in there, but I honestly don't like her on the ground. I know she's beating some of these ladies. Lisa Alvarez, she's submitting some of these ladies in here, but it just looks a little bit low level in here. Wu coming off of her biggest win of her career, being 10-2, debuting in the UFC against Lauren Mueller. Here at LaTB, I was boasting Mueller up. I was talking, I got to take the heat. I was telling you guys, you better pick this bitch. You better pick this fucking bitch. She's doing all sorts of good. She's winning. She was undefeated. She came in and got fucking smoked. She got wrapped up. Last time we were in China, she got armbarred off of her back. Mueller first landing a left, knocking down Wu. Wu then from the guard, landing an armbar, getting her blue belt in the octagon after that, where Lauren Mueller was a wrestler who had been doing all this for all that long. Maybe Mueller shouldn't have had the hype. I don't see Mueller actually winning too many other fights at all in the UFC. And Wu, as far as what we've seen from her, she likes to move forward, has some heavy punches. She would not pass. You saw that if she was in the United States. Bet on that. Bet on that. She's definitely going to be thicker. She's going to have more power here. But anyways, taking those hard shots from against at-level competition in Invicta. So I actually got the debuting fighter in here. I just don't like what I've seen from Wu because it hasn't been a lot and it's been against really low level, even though one's been in the UFC. Give me Inoue as a side favorite here. Who do you have in this fight? Decision.
You think
and
that
why?
the UFC is going to set up the first fight of the night for a Japanese girl to come in and beat the Chinese girl?
There's a short notice replacement fight. I do think that
Who was fighting originally?
Wu and her opponent fell out, but I can't remember who she was going to fight. But it was not at the caliber of fighter of Inoue.
Yeah, Inoue's a lot better than any of the girls, but you did think Lauren Mueller was going to win, and Wu shut that down.
Mueller is garbage now. I'm just on
Going
that
through
train now.
Mazzani, though. Decision doesn't say
She
a lot.
lost to Gina Mazzani.
Yeah.
Mazzani.
I do like everything that Inoue is putting together. I got Inoue decision, which I don't even like to say that because decision in China makes me worry. It makes me want to pick Wu.
Great point. Great point.
I'm picking Wu. I don't even care. I'm going to stay away from this fight. You already said enough.
China hometown. We got Mizuki, the debut in Inoue, coming in at 8,300 minus 140 favorite against the veteran or the tenured fighter, Yan Wu. Do you think you're going to play Wu at 7,900 anywhere? I think I'm going to probably stay away from this fight completely as well. It is a 3-rounder, so it's even limited as far as the output. Might turn into more of a grappling fest in there. Moving on to 145 pounds, we have returning Movsar Evloev coming in at 145 pounds against debuting short notice replacement Zihyang Liu. Liu coming in with a 18-6 record. Last coming in off a win submission via Kimura. Prior to that, he lost to a couple other fighters. He has had some at competition fights or guys that have had winning records, 11-3, but it's been in the China scene out there. It wasn't the best tape I saw on him, and it was really interesting because when I went back and watched Liu, I watched him fight in M1 Evloev in an MMA fight where it was Evloev's second or third fight, maybe his first fight ever in MMA, and he ended up beating Liu in a decision, ended up out wrestling him nonstop, getting backside control, landing ground and pound, and just not letting Liu get any of his striking going at all. Liu doesn't have the best striking as well. He just kind of leans forward and tries to get it to the ground and then just kind of tries to grind you out, but at a very rudimentary level. I initially was going to just pick Evloev due to that same standard of decision of him actually going back to the wrestling and just rinse and repeating what he did in the first time they fought when it was about 4 years ago. But I've actually seen a lot of growth in Evelev. I saw him actually put much better game plans together since, have a much better gas tank. His striking has really come together a lot more since then. He's fought even tougher fighters than Lou since then. He's even fought better fighters than Lou's opponents. I just think Evelev is a pretty solid pick here. I think he's out of a flash random stun grenade that comes in here and knocks him out. I don't see Lou having really a shot. Give me the heavy favorite in Evelev. I think he's pretty much got it wherever he wants it here. And I actually have a TKO round number 2. I think it goes ground and pound. I think Evelev makes a statement and is like, yeah, it was a decision the first time because I was young. There's not going to be an excuse now. And I think he even says something like that on the mic.
Yeah, I got round number 2 as well. Evelev's just better everywhere, and he's actually one to watch in the division. I think he handles the fight. I like what you're saying. I think it's going to be a wobble fest, kind of a knockdown. I think he picks him apart by 1,000 cuts, and then I like round 2 for him, but I could even see it round 1. I don't see it going past round 2.
I like that.
I think he could finish it in round 1. I like everything that Mavsar's bringing to the table right now. This is a set up fight to kind of let you know he's coming. Get him ready for that main card.
Short notice replacement. They got a local fighter because this was, I believe, on like 10 days notice. It got switched out here. So it's someone who's like,
I could
just
even
like
move
Prince.
it up to round 1.
It's just like
His
Prince.
age isn't even showing. He's probably like 50 years old.
But in the same boat as Krantz, where he's like, you're going to give me another fight, right? All right, I'll fight.
That's my LP. That's my LaTB linchpin. Put Evelev everywhere.
Even as the highest priced fighter on DraftKings at 9,500 against 7,600
Normally,
versus Wu.
on a card, I would be like, no, you cannot put Evelev as the highest priced fighter. But on this card,
You got underdogs for days.
You can put him that high.
You're going to need to make some room for that type of a price tag. And I feel like we have so far tonight. We've definitely been Grandpa's eyebrows all over the place. Moving on to 125 pounds, we have Mark De La Rosa coming in against Kai Kara France. Kara France coming in with a 19-7 record, getting a controversial split decision against Pava as of late 6 months ago over in New Zealand, getting a win over Elias Garcia in a decision, being on that tough house type of fight, being a dark horse. He's coming out of that city kickboxing scene, training with Adesanya, Dan Hooker, all those boys out there. Kara France, looking good for a while. Good fight IQ in there. Solid wrestling. Little bit of gas tank issues. Striking has evolved, but it's still not the best. I feel like people give Kara France a lot more credit than I would as far as striking. Yes, he's a good striker, but I feel like Dan Hooker and Adesanya stand out as strikers for that gym, so people just say, well, he's training with those guys, but he's really not. Those guys are huge compared to Kara France. I mean, Hooker's 55, Adesanya 85. He's just not getting that type of reps. Who do you have? Volkanovski maybe in there as well. But Kara France, it just doesn't translate. Out of all those guys, Kara France isn't there. He gets hurt, and it's not his fault. It just happens in there. On the ground, he is good. I believe purple belt, maybe a little bit and above. Some classical training, key stuff in there as well. But against De La Rosa, that's where he wants to get it. De La Rosa is nasty on the ground. He tends to like to get it done. The 12-2 fighters coming off of a loss to Alex Perez in a decision. Prior to that, beating Jacoby Sanchez in a decision. Elias Garcia in a submission, so that's a common opponent. Losing to Tim Elliott. That Tim Elliott fight was fairly telling, where you could just see the amount of output, really, the gas tank for Rosa really be pushed. But I don't think Kara France does that. He sits back a little bit as well. Kara France is the better striker here. I think he can hold his own on the ground. Like Moises and Ismagulov earlier in the fight night, Rosa has this flash submission ability in this potential. I had him earlier in the night, but I think that the ripples to the game Kara France might have a little bit. I'm just not that confident in it. This is a real coin flip for me. I like De La Rosa. I like De La Rosa's jab. I think that they're both growing, and I think Rosa might be growing a little bit more But this is a close one. This is a coin flip. Give me Kara-France. I had Rosa earlier in the day. Kara-France decision. This is a dirty split. I'm going to probably end up staying away from this one.
I don't think it's going to be a split. I don't like, is De La Rosa, was he on short notice his last fight? Because otherwise, I don't like him moving down 10 more pounds. Anytime we see guys make this drastic of a cut, it reminds me of Ray Borg. It reminds me of Smoka. I just think it's a desperation move because they don't see themselves winning at the next weight class. So when you're cutting this much cardio when every pound matters, you're not a guy that's already, 205 cutting to 185 and you have the extra pounds to give. I just don't think these little weights and these guys are already normally walking around at 155, 160 and then cutting down to this small level. Kara-France is a guy we've seen make over and over again. I actually think this is just building his name so they can get that the land down under scene all growing hard. I almost feel like it's a setup fight. I just think Kara-France is a little better everywhere, and I think he takes it 30-27.
But it's a decision.
But that's fine with me. It's 125. I just don't see these guys having the same kind of power as trying to even compare him to the guys at a higher level.
The decided favorite is going to end up coming in as Kai Kara-France comes in at 9,100 on DraftKings against De La Rosa's 7,100. Again, I'm going to probably stay away from this fight. If anything, it's a dogger pass DraftKings-wise for the flash submission, but I don't really see a finish for Kara-France.
I think Kara-France will be on the number one card of the night.
Wow. Are you going to go heavy with him?
He won't be my linchpin. He'll be up there, though. I'll have him. He'll be definitely one of the guys that's on a majority of my cards. I think he's going to get comfortably over 80 points, and I think that's all you're going to be able to ask for this fight night. Unless there's weird names that are picked. Like, if you look at a number one card and it's a whole bunch of names you don't know, that's just a shot in the dark. Like, you're just throwing darts in the dark. Like, I can't do anything about that. But I got Kara-France decision. And it's not because I don't like Mark De La Rosa. I just don't like it. Unless he took his last fight on short notice and there was a reason he was taking it at the heavier weight. This is a weird... It's that TJ Dillashaw shit. Like... The hurricane coming already?
I hear it. So, I think you're making valid points there, but you convinced me. I'm going to probably put Kara-France on 20%, De La Rosa 20%.
I'm going to have definitely an E card, and my E card will have De La Rosa on it.
Anything left with that one at 125 pounds. Moving on to the co-main event.
And rightly so.
Maybe even the people's main event. We have a firefight in Ezeliu Zaleski. People calling him Easy in there now. I love the nickname. Capoeira coming in against Li Jinliang, the Leech, coming for everybody's eyes. I know I was talking about not Yadong Song, Keegan Song in there being an eye poker. We know what Leech will do to you. He literally got a point taken away for it. Jake Matthews' eyes still getting some freaking work done on them because of that. So Leech definitely trying to win whatever way he can in there. The 16-5 fighter is coming off of a 2-fight winning streak. His last loss being to Jake Matthews in a decision, beating Zach Otto, Camacho in there, Abe, and David Zuwad as of late in a TKO with a body kick. Leech really throwing tons of power into his strikes. I mean... Leech is powerful, but he's very unorthodox. Tons of power, but that's because he throws everything into it. And as we've been saying with a lot of these other submission guys, he's so confident on the ground that he's like, all right, I will throw myself off balance because even if we get on the ground, I can hold my own there. Woo! And
this fight's going to be so good.
He will throw your head off.
The other one was going to be the fight of the night.
This can be a fight of the night easy. So Leech will now started throwing some body shots in there on the ground. He's got a good top game. Moves over to the side on the back. He really does stay like a Leech. He was training over at Jackson Wink for a long time in the States, being on that developmental deal. I don't know if he's in the state
first
there.
Team all eyebrows.
Woo! Zaleski's got him going there. Zaleski's been in there at 21-5, being a capoeira striker in there, but also jiu-jitsu practicing ace in there, getting it done against Strickland, Griffin, Liam Good, having high-level wins over Curtis Melender as an underdog as of late submission. Zaleski, to me, he reminds me, some people say RDA. I think he's a cheap man's Vicente Luque for me. Tons of power, maybe not as good a fight IQ. where Zaleski is a little more reckless, is he'll throw a lot of these like capoeira spinning back fists or the spinning heel kicks where he'll like even go to the ground really low. And against the leech and against the grappler of the leech's level, anytime you expose your back for even a split second, the leech is going to try to take you down or get on that back. So I think Zaleski can open himself up to some hazardous positions, but on the ground, Zaleski's a monster. Great darts, great anaconda chokes will sweep you really well. So it's
powerful.
It's a scrap on the ground as well. So striking, it's a fucking scrap. On the ground, it's a fucking scrap. This is a goddamn motherfucking scrap. So,
that's it. That's my prediction. Good night.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think though Zaleski, both of these guys got power, but I think the more technical power goes to Zaleski slightly. This is why you're drinking coffee. This is why you had that beer. Enjoy, boys and ladies and girls. It's going to be a fun one. Must watch UFC. Zaleski Lee. Give me Zaleski decision. Might move that to a finish. Got to watch weigh-ins. I think Zaleski has a little bit of more avenues as far as the great. He has more of submission ability, where Zhi Liang more just waits for a decision, whereas Zaleski's kind of trying to finish you a bit more. And I'd say the cardio, I'll give to the leech a bit more. There's a dirty split.
Heart, I give to the leech. Power, I give to Zaleski. Their ground games are... I actually am going to give it to the Zaleski because of that power. I think Zaleski's a little more reckless and the leech is a little more calculated. So I can see Zaleski being the guy that has more avenues to win, but also more avenues to get in trouble. You can't leave yourself open to a guy like Zhi Liang, and especially in China. Are you kidding me? He might be the biggest star. He might be the whole Backstreet Boys all put into him. We might hear an arena like we've never heard before. We have no idea what to prepare for. So I love the leech here, but Zaleski, I just think the leech will leave it all on the table. He'll leave it all on the dance floor. He don't care. He'll get knocked out. What of it? And that's kind of what I see happening. I think Zaleski's going to catch him by the end. It's going to be one of those fights for the ages. I do have Zaleski finally just finishing it off, catching the leech, knocking him down, then finishing it with some ground and pound. Zaleski KO round 3. Killer fight, though.
Such a fun fight. I definitely stick around for after weigh-ins. We're going to let you know. We're going to actually probably get those weigh-ins a bit earlier on Thursday night.
It is going to be weird. And we're going to have our card out first. So that'll be a reason that if you want to get your picks out, the UFC, what are you going to be waiting up for Thursday morning for their card to come out? You could just follow us and we'll get out a card.
We'll take care of
you. Yeah, we got you.
We'll take care of you. On DraftKings, for the decided favorite, we have Easy Zaleski coming in at 9,200 against Li Jiliang.
It's a little disrespectful.
7,000. I totally agree. This is a way closer fight than those odds.
I agree.
Way closer fight.
But I do love Zaleski, and I like I think he's better than RDA. Not RDA at his peak, but far better than him right now. I think Zaleski would go in and beat RDA. Mm-hmm. But I like your comparison to Luque, except I actually think Zaleski has more power than Luque, but Luque has more precision. It's like it's the trade-off. But
right.
I think they could, if you told me they were related tomorrow, I would be like, I could see it.
That's what I don't know why
I would say, I thought so. I remember I brought that up once on the show.
But Zaleski, he's got those ant eyebrows. You know that one ant? That guy, or the one uncle with them crazy eyebrows?
My big fat Greek eyebrows.
Yeah. He got one of them uncles that are like, oh, yeah, that's why. They just cousins. How much do you think you're going to be playing Zaleski on DraftKings for 9,002? Because I think this is way closer. It's a 3-1 or 2,000.
He'll be I will be, because I know him. That's going to be my biggest things. My cards, I want to try to know the names of the people on my cards, and that's so hard to do tonight.
This morning. So
yeah, it's so hard to do yesterday.
So this is going to be tough because I don't agree with the 3-1. I think it's a much closer line. I think it should be only like minus 150 Zaleski, but it's 3-1, so it's steamed up. Betting wise, I can't bet Zaleski. DraftKings wise, I think if it goes to decision, Lee is worth every cent in there, and Zaleski is not gonna be. So give me, Zaleski decision in here.
Wow, Ooh. Decision 5-round fight. Oh, it's not 3
round fight. The 5-rounder is gonna be at 115 pounds in the main event, where we have freshly crowned first title defense for Jessica Andrade, however you want to pronounce it, against the up-and-coming challenger Li Jingliang. Zhang Magnum in there. The 19-1 fighters come into the UFC beating Tisha Torres, beating Jessica Aguilar via submission. Danielle Taylor also ate a big fat L in there via decision. The Chinese 30-year-old comes in with a lot of body kicks to a lot of left body kicks, a lot of standing side body kicks with the left there. Tons of output. Haven't really seen her go 5 rounds. We've seen a steady 3, and she has a great gas tank. I have a feeling that Zhang can easily do 5 just with her type of style. She looks like that high volume type of output. And that's not really anything new for Andrade. She's fought the volume type of fighter. She's fought a precision fighter. She's fought a wrestler, a jiu-jitsu fighter. She just has so much more experience. If this fight isn't in China, Zhang doesn't deserve this shot beating Tisha Torres at the point in time where we've seen Tisha Torres has been as of late. Because then Martinez, who just fought Torres, should get the next title shot.
But I think just timing-wise, it was only this because it was going to China. Because otherwise, I think the only other person up there, and I could be totally wrong unless I go through them, is our homegirl. What's her face? Amanda Nunes' old lady. Asnaroff. I think they're the only 2 that are on win streaks.
With a 2 and 3 fight win streak? Yeah. No, and Asnaroff isn't, because she just lost her last fight.
No, she won.
Oh.
I think she's won her last 2 or 3. But they're the only ones in the division on the 2 or 3 fight win streak.
Correct. It is a young division.
Yeah.
Still. So we're going to see these type of matchups where one has, how many fights does Andrade have?
Unless we saw Rose want the immediate rematch, but we didn't. She said she wanted a break. So it's kind of like, it was kind of a division almost in the same way that Henry Cejudo's sitting right now. It's a very similar division where you're just sitting up there alone. So it's kind of up to you to pull people up to the dance floor.
Right.
Like you're just sitting up there.
Well, Andrade has definitely fought at 125 pounds. She's coming in with a 20-6 record, only losing to Joanna Jędrzejczyk in there. She beat Gadelha. She beat Torres. KK Rose as of late with that spike on the head. I think she's also lost to either Raquel Pennington, and who else? There was someone else back in the day, Mata Leon or Amanda Leon as well. She has a loss too at like 35. So Andrade.
I see people get so mad about Andrade. They're like, she should not be fighting him this weight.
Gadelha herself is like, this isn't fair because I'm never going to win somebody this strong. We know what Andrade does. She moves forward. She'll eat a shot to land 4. Some people say she's the women's John Lineker, but I wouldn't agree with that. I would say that she actually has way more of a ground game than John Lineker. Lineker likes to go to the body and head, and I'd say in that fashion, she is very Lineker-esque because she will keep her head on a straight line, bite down her mouthpiece, and land 7-8 punches. But she'll actually throw in takedowns. She has multiple spiking finishes, not just Rose. She will get in on those double legs, wrap you up, and throw you over her shoulder onto your head. So Estaca in here actually has that wrinkle to her game where Lineker doesn't. She also has the mega cardio in here. I'm just going to say LaTB conspiracy. Last time it was in Brazil. This time it's in China. I haven't seen her fight in Vegas. And she's got EPO cardio from the last couple times, from the last few. I'm just saying. They ain't in the USADA country. So Nowitzki ain't going to be here. Up. She moved down weight and just got
2 weight classes.
And she's always been thick. She's always been extra just muscular in there. So now against Zhang's more karate style on the ground, she's been able to get up against lesser competition, but Andrade, I think, can just rinse and repeat. She can take her down when she wants to. She can outland her. The actual power I give to Andrade as well. Zhang has some kicks and knees that she can hurt Andrade with, but we've seen Andrade eat those kicks and knees from Jędrzejczyk, Gadelha, who are some of the hardest hitters. Even Rose was picking her apart for two solid rounds, and it did not deter Andrade. She just moved forward, grabbed onto her, and fucking slammed her on the ground. I think she can do that again here. I think Zhang will be a respectable contender, but it's a little too soon for me. I think it's just they needed someone to contest in China, and they got her out here. I would really like to see a couple other fights, but you have a point. It's a weak division. We're going to see these type of bouts in here. On DraftKings, I feel like I'm going to have to go with the champion. It's a 5-rounder. I think you could even stack this as far as a cash game, but if you want to go with the person that's going to win it all for you, I think it's Andrade or stay away from it. They both have really high volume in here. I'm going to go Andrade decision. If there's a finish, it's Andrade's side, and that's about it for me. Who are you going to pick in this? I got a decision right now.
I think Andrade loses to point fighters, except with the exception of KK, who, you know how I feel about KK. I love her, you guys, but I think Zhang beats KK right now.
Not the same KK.
As well. Yeah, she is not right. But Rose was winning that entire fight, and JJ beat up on Andrade and point fodder. I think Zhang can kind of do the same thing. 5 rounds. The one thing about Andrade that gets to me is I think she has the worst cardio. She just slowly turns off. And I know it's like, oh, she handled Claudia, but Claudia hasn't been the same Claudia in a while. It's almost like JJ took Claudia's soul, and we haven't kind of seen her come back from that. I don't know. I know it's too much too soon, and it's weird that I'm saying this, but I think if it goes to decision and the hometown favorite and it's close, you can see that it could go to Zhang, and I think that Zhang could even though it's going to be one of those arguments like, how do you give it to Zhang? There was 2 takedowns for Andrade, but it's going to be double the amount of points given or strikes landed for Weili Zhang over Andrade. And you guys know it as well as I do. Watch that fight up until that slam. Andrade just slowly got shut down, and you saw her entire... If that didn't happen, and I know that doesn't make any sense in an MMA, but if that moment didn't happen, I just think Andrade was going to be...
A punching bag, turned into a punching bag.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like, she was getting worked.
In every which way. She did not look good anywhere in that fight. She just had this like heathenish strength to do that, and everybody knows about that thing, and that was a fluke kind of incident as well, because even on the ground, I feel like Rose could have handled Andrade on the ground. So Weili Zhang does not have that kind of work on the ground, but the same juice that Andrade is taking, that China juice could be loose.
It's that synthetic though in China, synthetic.
It's Asahi for Andrade, and then Zhang, she is on that fish oil. But yeah, I don't know. I got Zhang. I know this is crazy, and I'm most likely, if I'm going to switch on any one of the night, it will be to Andrade. I just don't like Andrade in a point kind of 5-round fight with somebody who can go all 5. I don't like that for her. To me, that's where she doesn't look great. Like, she looks great in a 3-round. She handles people, but when they're 5-round fights, especially against point fighters, and that's the same way I thought it was going for Rose. I thought it was headed toward that direction where she was just going to be pieced apart for rounds, why people stayed away from her, and she punched herself out and punching out air. So, Zhang decision. Oh, that'll have an eek face on it. Eek!
Wait to weigh it.
Yeah.
But I do think we've got to wait for weigh-ins more so than most, because there's a lot of other fighters that have never fought in China because we haven't been there long. So food, air travel, all this stuff matters. We got to see what people feel like, listen to interviews. This is why we keep up in these series. On DraftKings, 8,700 for the -170 favorite. Andrade against Zhang's +150. 7,500 on DraftKings. I'm going to stack this a little bit.
I think that might be smart. I think they could just sit and point. I think Andrade could lay enough points the first 2 rounds to be worth it and even maybe eke out the decision, but Zhang's going to be making points the whole time, and for the price, she's going to be
more worth it. I agree, and that's where
they're both going to be worth it.
I'm going to stack it, but as much as I stack, I'm going to even have 30% Andrade, 20% Zhang on their own, and then a couple cards stacked, because I do think that there's a lot of points to be had in a 5-rounder here. We did it. We went through all 12. It's going to be down and dirty. It's going to be early in the morning. You're going to need to do whatever you need to do to set that alarm. Keep alive on that Twitterverse. I'll be trying to be tweeting out there, letting all you other renegades out there seeing how we doing it, staying up, keeping up with the protests. They ain't going to keep us down. UFC ain't going to get put in the ground.
Yeah, make sure you're sending the energy. Make sure you're sending nuclear bombs into the center of the hurricane.
True. Let's disseminate. I know our president was talking about disseminating, right? Tornadoes with new. Let's put them to good use.
Yeah, why not? So, yeah, we'll see you guys soon. For sure, always Wednesday.
Guaranteed.
And maybe Sunday.
If there's enough news, I feel like we've really been hitting it super, super hard. And there's other paths that we have. Just there's many avenues to bake a pie, as they say.
Yeah, well, we know that you guys also, we see our algorithm, and you guys don't seem to care as much about the Sunday show and the recap. Some hardcores do.
And we appreciate you.
There's hardcores out there. We appreciate you. So, but we'll definitely be bringing you the breakdown. We see what you want. But we might be working on another show. So we'll keep you posted. And